So welcome everyone. We're happy to have today with us National Women's Hall of Fame inductee, 21-year U.S. Air Force veteran, combat veteran, former White House fellow, first woman Thunderbird pilot, mom, and geez, the list of accomplishments goes on and on. Welcome, NICOLE MALACHOWSKI. Nice to have you with us.
It's good to see you, Tony. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. How does it feel to not be on the road doing speaking at this point? That's normally what you've been doing the past couple of years.
Yeah, I've got, I guess, mixed emotions that kind of run the spectrum. There's part of me that's definitely enjoying the downtime. Sometimes the hustle of the airline travel and being away from home, can be hard and a little bit stressful. So I'm enjoying having the opportunity to sleep in my own bed. I'm certainly enjoying the opportunity to be with my kids and my husband, a lot more often. That said, I also miss it, right? I miss being out on the road, going to new places, being exposed to different industries and organizations. I'm a bit of a people person. So to kind of remove me from the social aspect of being a public speaker, that's been hard for me. But the beauty of it is nowadays, right, it's 2020, we've got technology. And we have an opportunity like this to talk across the miles and even around the globe, as necessary virtually. So I've been having fun reconnecting with people, in this online environment. And I've been having a good time, giving presentations to clients. So there is beauty in the virtual space.
And you've been in your new home now in Colorado. You moved from Washington, D.C. last July, as I remember. So this stay-at-home time has allowed you, as I can see in the background, to get your office together.
I have. No, the
cool
timing
shots.
has been, we're very lucky because, to your point, we moved into our new home about 2 months before the shelter in place happened. And so we're in a gorgeous new home. We have this time to set it up the way, that we want it to look. And we have this downtime to really enjoy it. Any military person knows that you end up at the end of your career with a heck of a lot of military memorabilia and tchotchkes. So it's been fun to look back at some of these. When you're in the military, I was moving every 1 to 2 years. A lot of these things were in boxes for over a decade. So unpacking in this new house, it was almost like for us Christmas, right? Like, oh, I had forgotten about this painting or, that model. So it's been fun to reminisce about those memories.
Well, you've been doing speaking, as you were talking about, virtually, and those have been going really well. The feedback has been great.
Fun.
You're very comfortable. Audiences feel that you're just an absolute natural and approachable. They really love the intimacy of feeling like they have a front row seat into the ideas that you've got to share. And one of the things that came up that I thought we might talk about a little bit today was from a recent talk. Was a bit of a different twist on what you normally do. And through the discussion before the actual event, it was the focus determined to be crisis leadership and teamwork. And you thought about the lessons from combat and what might be able to translate really well for that audience. And you came up with 3 Ps, as I recall, that you felt were really illustrative of the lessons that you could bring to an audience on crisis leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was really neat. I was actually pretty tickled because it was a client I had just spoken to and given my push in the envelope teamwork speech maybe about 2 to 3 months before the coronavirus crisis happened. So to have them call me back really, touched my heart and meant a lot. And they said, NICOLE, we learned a lot about teamwork and trust from your first speech. Now that we're in this crisis situation, we as a company, are dealing with this coronavirus pandemic, as individual employees. Our teams are now dispersed, and our clients are also going through this crisis in their own way. We are all going through the same storm together, but it's really important to realize that we're all in different kinds of boats, right? Every single individual has different resources or foundations or backgrounds that they're using to kind of navigate this crisis. And so the client said, what do we do to stay together as a team during these trying times? And what do we do to make sure that we're putting our client first? And they said, you've been in combat. And I found this interesting. They said, we don't want to compare this current crisis to war. We don't want to, downplay what military and combat and war is like and to try to equate it to business. And I had to stop them right there because let's be honest, coronavirus is serious. It is indeed a life and death situation for many people. And regardless, the businesses that they're working with, the clients that they have, are literally in a fight for their businesses' lives. They're asking, when this crisis is over, will my business still be viable? Or when this crisis is over, will I still be relevant? Will I have adapted? And so the boots on the ground feeling of clients is a feeling of stress, is a feeling in some cases of desperation. And so as I thought about this, I came up with this idea of the 3 Ps of crisis leadership and teamwork. It's vital for any company who's working with clients and other businesses to put the P perspective of that client first. The second thing is to make sure that the internal priorities have probably been shifted for coronavirus, or at least clarified in a way they haven't been done before, so that everyone's on the same page. And the third thing is positive leadership. Are we leading in a way that instills calm, that instills confidence, and that gives stability to the situation? And so it was with those 3 Ps that I developed with this company that this presentation came about.
Yeah. And that third one, almost has to come first, because the very first thing that a leader has to do is react with a sense of authority and assurance and give people around them a feeling that somebody's paying attention and I can follow this person. I'll always remember after 9/11, I saw Rudy Giuliani speak, and he had taken Winston Churchill's biography, and the night of 9/11, he had taken that home to read about it because he wanted to understand how Churchill led through the Blitzkrieg. And right after that, he said, you can imagine, how could you say to everyone who's being bombed on a nightly basis, gee, I don't know what I'm going to do, wringing his hands, have no idea how we're going to get out of this fix, follow me. He said, you've got to lead with some authority. And that sense of calm that you talk about. And I think as part of the talk that you did virtually, it was something about projecting that authority on the radio, because that's, of course, your means of communication in battle, right?
Absolutely. I think you just gave such a phenomenal example, Tony, of what I mean by positive leadership. Sometimes when I use the P of positivity, people think I'm talking about a Pollyanna-ish type, cheerleading, where you're kind of saying it's all going to work out and I have the solution, and where you're maybe promising something you can't fall back on. That's not the type of positivity I'm talking about. I'm talking about the example that you just gave. Positive leadership is an entire field of psychology that people can get deep into. But in combat, we're taught as fighter pilots from a very young age that no matter how chaotic the situation is, no matter what the soldier on the ground is feeling, the level of stress, if bombs are exploding, if bullets are flying, that when you key the radio to speak, to lead, when you act, that you have to do it in a way where we used to say, always sound calm on the radio. In combat, we had a saying too, that when things were moving really rapidly and you were trying to catch up with the chaotic situation and the fog of war, that you could get something called a helmet fire. A helmet fire meant just that, right? Your brain is trying to catch up. When there's a client on the ground, in this case, a soldier on the ground, who is dealing right up close and personal with the stresses of war or the stresses of coronavirus as a customer or a client, the last thing as a leader that you need to do is add to their stress. So before you key the mic to talk on the radio, you have to think, is what I'm about to say or what I am about to do going to help ease some of their pain? Is it going to be part of the solution to take away some of that stress? If it's not, you need to really pause and think about, is it important that I do this? Positive leadership is about proactively ensuring and choosing that your words and your actions instill calm, confidence, and stability. And that goes not only for an internal team, right, who are now dispersed working at different locations, each individual employee with their own personal, right, issues going on during coronavirus. We all have them. But it also applies to how you're communicating to your client or your customer. Again, they may very well feel like they're in the battle of their lives for their company and their livelihoods.
And you said something about helmet fire, and it brought to mind two words, task saturation, which is that's kind of the genesis of helmet fire, I would think.
100% task saturation. And that kind of also draws into one of the other P's, which is priorities. I think
Right.
sometimes, right, when you're in the chaos of the moment and the things around you are shifting so quickly, where the next day in the future is completely unknown, now is the time to clarify priorities. And I would say even you can cut priorities down to make sure that it is crystal clear. Because now during a coronavirus crisis is not the time for leaders and teams to be, wasting energy, wasting time, wasting resources. So making sure, the word we have in the military when you're flying in formation is, no matter what, make sure you're going the same way, same day. Same way, same day means same direction, same airspeed, flying your position, all at the same time. And if we start flying in formation like this, different functions within an organization or within a team, then the priorities are going to fall apart. The only way to avoid that helmet fire or task saturation is to make sure that the leader has communicated the priorities in a way that is so clear that everyone in an organization knows what those are.
That's vitally important stuff, because it's kind of the essence of how you get through this kind of time. I mean, one of the only good things about getting older is you've seen stuff before. You've been through 9/11. You've been through, I've been through a half a dozen different very serious economic times. Certainly the most serious of them was 2008. But what you do recognize is that there is an end to it. And as as you've seen them more and more, you recognize that, okay, this is bad, but there is going to be an end to this. And the other thing that you realize is that on the other side of it is an opportunity that not a lot of people are going to have, because not a lot of the competition is going to make it. So the idea is to be the one who stands up there the longest.
Mm-hmm.
Persistence counts for an awful lot. Just the ability to hang in and
Right.
see it to the other side means that is a success in itself.
It is. And you just added a fourth P that we could probably add to this, right? Which is this idea of persistence, which has to do with, commitment, focus, and, a little bit of grit. And you talked
Yeah.
a lot about, will our companies and those, businesses that we work with, will they be viable, right, at the end of this crisis? Will they have adapted and innovated in a way that will help them not just survive, right, but to come out of this crucible experience reshaped in a stronger fashion, right? More suited to launching into whatever the future is going to look like after coronavirus. And that brings me to this last P, which is perspective. I think it's very easy for teams who are going through this crisis to start focusing very much internally on their own pain or their own feelings. And I think that when we talk about, shifting priorities or clarity of priorities, that should help alleviate some of that stress. If the leaders are communicating with positivity, clearly giving priorities, we have to back up and go, the perspective is all about our customer. It really doesn't matter how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking right now. Do we fully understand the pain point of our customer? Because it is their perspective that matters. Think of a combat situation. I would fly in this $65 million F-15E Strike Eagle, this amazing piece of technology that could offer a plethora and a menu of weapons that I could use to help solve the problems of that soldier on the ground. Now he's down on the ground, right, getting shot at, bombs exploding around him. Maybe the radios have static on them. He's feeling, right, a pain point. He could give a hoot what my F-15E, I show up and I go, my F-15E has this, and this. He's looking up there going, I'm overwhelmed.
Right.
right? I'm overwhelmed.
Right.
You as a company and as a team have to ask, what is your pain point? Fully understand it, and then go, I can offer you this. This will solve that pain point. Don't
Right.
come in and say, I'm amazing, I'm great, I have all these pieces of technology. Here's a full menu you can choose from. Right now, the perspective of the person on the ground matters. Whenever we flew as fighter pilots, the only thing that mattered, and the question we always asked ourselves during mission planning, was this: what are the needs of the warfighter? What are the needs of the warfighter? Doesn't matter about the fighter pilot, doesn't matter who's working in the headquarters, it doesn't matter. It's about that 18-year-old kid on the ground with the rifle who needs a solution to his pain point. And that's how businesses, I believe, need to look at their customers. It's not about me. It's about them. What is the perspective of the customer, and how do I solve their pain?
And I must say it, the first time I heard you say that, it was a perspective that I had never considered before. When you're thinking about your mission as a fighter pilot and what you're trying to accomplish, probably a blinding flash of the obvious, but you know, from a standpoint of the layperson, I'd never considered it. And once you do shift your perspective in that way, how you behave makes a ton of sense, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think those P's all go together, right? Perspective. What are the needs of the warfighter? Priorities. Are we as a team going same way, same day? And then obviously positivity, which has to do with positive leadership. Is what we are about to say or do going to instill calm, confidence, and stability? And Tony, like I said, you just made the presentation better with the fourth P of persistence. This will end. This crisis is temporary. Do you have the guts every day to put one foot in front of the other in a persistent fashion to get through it?
Wonderful. It's a great way to sort of leave our audience and just give them a little boost to remind them how important that is, one day at a time.
Yes, sir. You bet.
I did notice that Top Gun Maverick, the opening date, has been pushed off to December. Are you disappointed that you're not going to be able to see that in June?
No, because I know we're going to be able to see it eventually, right? Coronavirus is definitely teaching us maybe the fifth P of patience, right? That we are going to get there. I am super excited about it though, because I was 12 years old in 1986 when the first version came out. It definitely played into me staying focused on wanting to join the military and fly. So I'm excited for what this will do for the next generation of military aviators. And I'm excited that it's going to reflect the current reality that women are out there serving their country too in combat positions, and they're doing it with honor and dignity and respect, which is super cool. Wonderful.
Well, when that happens, when the film comes out, we'll have you back to talk about it. Give your review. How about that?
Let's do a D'Amelio Network watch party. We can invite all of
There
our
we go.
That would be fun. I like the idea.
Nicole, thank you very much for sharing some time. I'm sure the audience has gotten an awful lot out of this, and thank you for the great work that you're doing now virtually for the audiences that are enjoying what you have to say.
You bet. Thank you for having me, Tony, and take care of yourself. Okay?
Take care. You too. Bye-bye.